Hello and welcome to a rather special Sunday repeated on Wednesday program, and this is
the mojo hand, the winning boys magic.
Marge, this ticket doesn't just give me a seat. It also gives me the right, no, the duty to make a complete ass of myself.
But as for me, I'm off to battle aliens on a faraway planet.
Hello, operator, give me the number for 911.
Who sent you here? Can't talk, little man? Bet can't play none either.
I could pull a better cartoon out of my ass. Hey, whoa! Wasn't that great, kid?
Oh, bitch, bitch, bitch.
Kill my boss! Do I dare live out the American dream?
Overload. Pleasure overload.
Uh-oh. 2 independent thought alarms in one day.
Good morning, Woodticks and Patriots. Welcome to another exciting show here from the bunker at Lake Wish I Be Gone. And I don't know if you're gone or not, but I've been out. It's been a while since I've been on the air, and I can explain it quite simply. I was out looking for America. I took 3 weeks, decided that I was put the show on hiatus, and I wanted to go out and find America and Americans. And lo and behold, what did I find? Not the America I knew. I did find buses full of people somewhere. That was in Kansas. Dodge City, Kansas. Yep. I went down to Arizona. Had some fun down there. Went to Texas, Missouri. Kind of the heartland of America. The key word being there, the heartland. And I don't know if, I'm going to turn my headsets down a little bit, screaming at me, which is fine. But I got back and I had all this stuff stacked up on my desk, stories to talk about. These are all stories that the mainstream media doesn't. They just don't mention them. They just don't. Apparently, they don't exist. What is that? Are we losing our power here? 1 minute? Huh. Anyway, I'm looking at a camera. But I thought, okay, I'm going to try and do kind of an overview today and talk about a bunch of different things, but they're all interrelated. When I say I'm out looking for America, it's the America that I grew up in. Obviously, it's not the America that's today. And I keep chuckling because it's not funny, but it's so obscene that it is funny. The list goes on and on and on. And I can start off by saying, I'm going to talk about friends that you think you have, blah, blah. And wish you well in your endeavors. And then you find out a week or two later, month or two, that they really don't give a rat's ass about what it is you talked about, your mission, your goals, where you're going. And obviously they're your goals, they're not their goals. So I guess that's understandable. I try to lead my life a little bit different than that, but hey, you know. And the other thing, it seems like in today's world, everything is a diversion. If you remember a couple of, when was this? The end of April, last month. Hunter Biden business partners, they find out that his business partners went to the White House and talked to Sniffin' Joe while Joe's VP. And now that he's the chief of something, an eyelash there. Whatever. He's just doing crazy stuff. And I could use a different word, but anyway, one of the things that hits America today is this quote unquote supply line on different things. Actually, a lot of things, if not most things. You're lucky if you can get what it is you want without a lag in delivery. And yesterday, the FDA, one thing, you go down to the grocery store, and apparently I don't have young kids, so I don't notice or don't see it because I'm not looking. Apparently, the supply of infant formula is atrocious. If there were a pandemic, that might be more a pandemic than what they call the pandemic. And I'm reading the article coming out of, I don't remember where it was, MSN or something. And I don't really consider them to be my chief news source. But it says the FDA takes important steps to improve supply of infant and specialty formula products. The first thought that crossed my mind is, that's not the FDA's job, is it? Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a wood tick on this one. They're providing an update on its work to increase the availability of infant and specialty formula products. On February 17th, the agency warned consumers not to use certain powdered infant formula products from Abbott Nutrition Sturgis, Michigan in the news again. If it ain't the crazy governor, it's her family. And Abbott, there was a voluntary recall. They give the links to the FDA warnings of certain products. Since that time, the agency has been working with Abbott and other manufacturers to bring safe products to the U.S. market. Well, when I hear the word to U.S. markets, I question where it's coming from. And in this day and age, if it's not coming from, down the road, it's probably coming in on a boat, on a cargo ship. And then I'm asking, why is it coming in from a cargo ship? Have we gone that off the wall? I don't know. I honestly don't know. But anyway, in my opinion, the FDA, all they do is supposed to govern the quality. This article goes on to talk about helping manufacturers bring safe product to the market by expediting review of notifications of manufacturing changes. Sounds like the bureaucracy of government is too big because they can't, either there's too much formula, pun intended, in the manufacturer's reporting needs that they can't keep up with the reports, or the FDA doesn't have enough people to monitor the reports coming in and make variations on a theme. Compiling data on trends for in-stock rates for both national and regional levels to help understand whether the right amount of infant formula is available in the right locations. Which leads to a very similar story. I mean, a connecting story of who's tracking who and why are they tracking. Now, you could give the argument that we need to know where the big population booms are. Expediting the necessary certificates to allow for flexibility in the movement of already permitted products from abroad into the U.S. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't I just ask that $1 million question? Where is this stuff coming from? Offering a streamlined import entry review process for certain products coming from foreign facilities with favorable inspection records. So that says to me that if you have a favorable import record, the FDA now is going to maybe inspect every other report that they file because you have a favorable record. And what does that lead to? Human greed. Nothing else. Human greed. Let's make some. We know they're only going to check 1 in 4 boatloads. So, hey, let's not worry about the stringent controls. reaching out to retail stockholder groups to request that their members consider placing purchase limits on products, which, of course, they did. Almost every major retailer mentioned in this article has put a, three product purchase limit on pretty much what walks out their door. That'd be Walmart, Walgreens, all the big retailers, and guess what? Mom and pop local drugstores that carry the formula probably are getting shortchanged in the delivery of their product for their shelves. If you're not a big box house, you're probably not going to get your product. And you and I both know that Amazon doesn't stock it all. They just act as an intermediary. And with that, let's go to another story. I'll use that over there. That is sort of kind of connected. Emergent. Let's see if I can find that article. Do I have it? There it is, right there. Let's go take a look at it. Emergent hid evidence of COVID vaccine problems at plant, a report says. This was put out on MSN. Again, not necessarily my choice, but this is the stuff that's out there. These articles are out there, and your major news networks refuse, that's your news directors, refuse to put that article or some form thereof on your 6, 10, noon news reports. They would much rather talk about the sensationalism that happens in America today. Not my America, not the one I went out looking for. But Emergent hid the evidence that they had problems at their manufacturing plant. Oh, wait a minute. What does this say? What does this say right down here? 15 million doses had been contaminated. I don't know who Emergent manufactures for. I suppose I could read the entire story. And it's interesting. It's coming out of the New York Times, and MSN picked it up. All told, what does it say right there? 400 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine had been contaminated in 2020 and early 2021. Excuse me. It said the report, based on internal company emails and documents and interviews, sheds new light on Emergent executives' quote-unquote own worries about deficiency in the company's quality control systems at its troubled Bayview plant in Baltimore, Maryland. I chuckle at that because it's just one more thing that needs to have a diversionary subject matter placed right over the top of this story so that it's more exciting to talk about the Who Flung Poo story than it is about vaccination quality control. But right after this story, we're going to run a Get Your Poke commercial. That's what the major news networks do. They'd rather run a government paid for .gov. If you look at the little print at the bottom of the screen on a COVID-19 vaccine commercial, you will find that it's paid for either by the Ad Council or by a .gov, Health and Human Services, or some AMA, Medical Association. It goes from asinine to ludicrous. It says previous estimates of lost vaccines were far lower. No contaminated doses were ever released to the public. Well, thank the good Lord over that one, but once again, what's in these vaccines? These doses were squandered despite repeated warnings from employees, outside consultants, and pharmaceutical companies, and FDA regulators that the company manufacturer practices were unsafe. So, but let's just make we've got a contract, and obviously this company is not qualified to complete that contract. So what do we have? No responsibility. Isn't that a resounding term in America today? There's, you find out somebody's doing something wrong, and I'll pick on the government agencies. You find out somebody in the agency is doing something wrong, or an elected official, there's no remedy. There's no responsibility. What's the point? If I, as a company, running my company, find out that one of my vendors is either cheating me, lying to me, or not delivering a product that they say they have, and they don't, guess what? They're fired. They don't get to be a vendor anymore. Why is it that the government is doing anything other than that? Because they're a bunch of you-know-what. I didn't say it, but I'll give you a quarter. They're wood ticks. Bunch of wood ticks. This is New York Times reported last year that a top pandemic preparedness official with, excuse me, not COVID, with Operation Warp Speed, which was what Donald T. called his fast-track vaccine initiative, warned that in June of 2020 that relying on the plant would present quote-unquote key risks and that the site would have to be monitored very closely. The same month, an emergent executive, Sean Kirk, acknowledged in an email that he had alerted other senior executives for years about problems at the plant, stating that room to improve was a huge understatement. In another email, he says, of all the things we have to deliver on OWS, referring to Operation Warp Speed, the thing that keeps me up at night is the overall perception of state of quality systems at Bayview. He's since moved on to newer and greener pastures, and hopefully it's a better company. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on about how warnings go up, people stand up and scream bloody murder, but apparently 90% of that facts. I'd like to get my hands on the actual reports that and find out exactly what was going on within these plants. So, but anyway, no matter what you do, it seems like in this new America we have, being a whistleblower or a warning entity to other people who are in control of an organization obviously doesn't matter anymore. It didn't matter years ago, but it doesn't matter even more now. So, and that being said, that's welcome to America. I have what's the next report here? Hang on 2 seconds. I got to reach. I got so many of them today. I got to keep reaching into the wastebasket. This was back show I was going to do last week too, talking about where pandemic lockdowns may or might lead America and its citizens in their day-to-day. Where's my Beijing story? Where'd it go? I can't find it. Let's get rid of this one. Sorry, I'm playing with my screens. Beijing enforces lockdowns, expands COVID-19 mass testing. In Beijing, where I believe we might be getting some of our baby formula from, workers put up fencing and police restricted who could leave a lockdown area in Beijing on Tuesday as authorities in the Chinese capital stepped up efforts to prevent a major COVID-19 outbreak like the one that has all but shut down the city of Shanghai. As people lined up for throat swabs across Beijing as mass testing was expanded to 11 of the city's 16 districts. Another 22 cases were found in the last 24 hours. And again, this was last week sometime. But welcome to the diversions. These stories get put out by the 9-to-5ers, and they're in their heyday sitting at their news desks talking about the who-flung flu crisis, whatever the heck it is. And you have people jumping out of buildings. I don't know if you got to see that or not. I don't know what you watch for your news sources, but people are jumping off the top of high-rise apartment complexes. They got no food because their day-to-day starts very simply. They get up, they clean up, they walk down to the market, down to that wet market and get their bats. Yeah. And then they bring their food home for the day or maybe the breakfast for tomorrow. And then they go off to work. Well, if you're on lockdown, you can't go to the market. And I've seen pictures of crates upon hundreds, if not thousands of food crates lined up that were destined to get to marketplaces in the city that were stopped. They were also rounding up wandering dogs, cats, and putting them in mesh bags. It's not pleasant to talk about, but this is when you let an authority figure tell you what to do, what's best for you. Natural immunity, I'll probably get booted off YouTube, Facebook for this because I'm basically telling you what it is, what to watch out. There's no supply, so there can't be shortages. That's what's going on in the country, the city of the countries that we have our products made in. And then they get shipped onto a rat-infested boat, cargo container ship, sent across the ocean, and they get backed up on the West Coast. Can't unload them. So we can't get our product. You people, you better wake up. I'm not talking about being woke. I'm talking about waking up, smelling the roses, and making sure that you're very prepared to handle what's coming on. This is these stories get to be extremely disheartening for me anyway. And since we're on the COVID-19 thing, let's and supply chains. Why don't we talk? Let me show you this one. This came from a local county in Wisconsin, a local county health department. The people who were charged with giving vaccines, setting up vaccine sites, getting vaccines into their respective counties. If you pay attention to something, this might be one of the articles and subject matters that you would want to pay attention to. This was April 27th, 2022, just the other day. For immediate release, we'll make this a little bigger for you so you can see exactly what's going on here. New rankings show healthiest and least healthy counties in Wisconsin. Excuse me. Time for a coffee. Oneida County ranks 25th out of Wisconsin's 72 counties regarding overall health outcomes. According to the new county health rankings data from the University of Wisconsin, UW, almost one of the biggest shyster organizations in the state. University of Wisconsin Population Health Institute. The rankings are available at, here it is, a www.countyhealthrankings.org. Now, that said, if you understand the www tree, you'll understand this. This is not a government clearinghouse or reporting agency. It is a .org, which is traditionally reserved for nonprofit organizations. That was the initial intent of having a, let me turn this monitor a little bit, having a .org in the internet hierarchy. .com, .net, .org, the three most popular, and then variants there with different dot whatever. Now remember that. I'm going to show you what happens here. This is an email that somebody sent to WPEG.net, which is one of my companies. And it says www.countyhealthrankings.org. Let's click it and see where it goes. Would you look at this? This link, now this is coming from a county government health agency that's supposed to be nonpartisan, supposed to be for the good of the health and wellness of an organization, as in the county. And this splash page, County Health Rankings and Roadmaps, building a culture of health county by county. A just recovery to achieve economic security and health for all. That one won't move. Sorry, I keep taking the wrong one. I got to come over here. Look at this. And move it over here a little bit, and we'll go down here. How healthy is your county? Factors that influence health. Advance a just recovery economic security. This is nothing. State reports racial wealth building. Did you get that? Racial wealth building. This is on the site that our county health department pushes. Introducing in solidarity, connecting power, place, and health. Do you have any idea how woke this email is? Racial wealth building. What does this have to do with the county health? From a nowhere county in Wisconsin. Factors that influence health. Good education for our kids. While that may bleed over into the educational system, here is a county health model. Health behaviors, clinical care, social and economic factors, physical environment. I don't.
We all have a role to play in shaping our community's health. There are so many factors that influence how long we live and how well we live. Think of all the things that affect our health. Sure, we could all eat better, move more, and make sure we get our annual checkups. But there's more to it than that. The quality of our homes, the safety of our neighborhoods, and our chance at a good education all influence health in the short and long term. But how can we understand how all these things...
How can we understand? If you open your eyes, you pretty much can understand it.
...fit together. Meet the County Health Rankings Model. The model illustrates a broad vision for health. The model shows us that policies and programs play an important role in influencing the health factors that, in turn, shape a community's health outcomes. That means not just how long we live, but also how well we live.
I got to say something, that if you look at these facts, or what they're using as examples, you're going to find out that has nothing to do with the health of a community, has to do with what choices people make. has to do exactly with what choices you make. And don't tell me that that the opportunity is not there. It is. Length of life, 50% quality. I just can't listen to this stuff anymore. If you are awake, as in not woke, you're going to know exactly. Let's just do a quick Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Let's see how we are. Health outcome, health factors. There's a whole ranking system here. And if you take a run, remember this website, the county health rankings. Take a look around at what exactly this group of people take action to improve. Here we go. Take it. Find strategies by topic. Alcohol, drug, diet, exercise, sex activity. Well, wait, we will get to Roe versus Wade. Don't worry about it. Sexual activity, access to care, quality of care. I believe that Wisconsin has a, what's the term? Certificate of need. I think that's what it's called. Certificate of need. And if you need to have a new clinic or a new hospital built, you have to go and get a certificate of need from an existing facility that says that they can't handle the need. Therefore, there is a need, and that's going to happen when? Yeah, I'm thinking that's going to happen the 12th of never. And there are a fellow patriot down out of Texas and said that they have a certificate of need situation and they were denied the funding or the permits, which is government rigmarole, the bureaucracy, to have a new facility built because they couldn't get a signed certificate of need. And again, as a production company, I got a production company. Do I have the right to demand a certificate of need because because another company wants to start a production company and be my competitor? Rock on, give it a shot. Go for it. It's what it's all about. Welcome to my America. But anyway, this coming out of the county health under the healthiest rankings of a county within the state is very ludicrous. But that's what your government does, and it goes unchecked almost universally. And I'll guarantee you that release is no different than many other health departments. Now, with that, I'm going to take a little quick break. I'll be right back in a couple of minutes and go grab a cup of coffee. We'll be right back. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe over on YouTube. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat, just like out on Lake Wish I Be Gone. We have lots of frogs and toads croaking around today because it's springtime. And that's what happens. You get new life in spring. It smells so good to have the windows open. I don't know about you, but we hit 70-something yesterday. I haven't flung open the sashes in so long, I tell you. Anyways, the story I just talked about was the health department treading on what they want to control, which is food, education, leading to a healthy community. And guess what? We have a story. How interlinked is this? The Memphis Food Program sponsors received thousands in state fund, but guess what? They did not feed the children, officials say. Oh, be still my beating heart. And I say that with sarcasm that can't end. Because one of my companies, WPEG, looked into the food program, the summer food program. Remember when that first came out a couple of years ago? And it was during the school year, come and get free breakfast, free lunch. But, that was school year. Then the summer program started. And in order to be eligible to get either reimbursed or payment for lunches, you had to fill out an application. And it went to the state. This was the state of Wisconsin. Had to go to the Department of Education, Health, and Human Services, of which our illustrious governor, I gotta have a laugh track built in here because our illustrious governor was running that department back when this all started. He's not a governor, useless as it is. And we, through FOIAs, got the paperwork that was submitted to the state, which gets submitted to the feds so they can get funding and backfeed to the school districts. And what we got surprised the living hell out of me. There's a quarter. And there were 5 applications for the school district that the school district had filed with the state. And guess what? The statistics that were used on all 5 reports came from 2 of the 5 schools. That's not even half of it. They just filled in the blanks with a certain percentage of needy children in order to qualify the other sites to be summer food program sites. And then we sat in the parking lot with cameras while the summer food program was going on. Nobody was in 2 of the 3 schools at night, 5 o'clock for a food program. They weren't there. But guess what? The county and school district filed the paperwork as though they had served plates. Oh, nobody there. Empty parking lots. The workers weren't even there. That was just my personal experience. I sat there with cameras. Absolutely, we're not there. Yet, we talked to the head of the accounting department for the school district about the paperwork that they filed with the state of Wisconsin. It's called fraud. You filled out false applications in order to get revenue stream. And that's your governor. That department never checked. So, yes, the buck stops there at the governor's desk because he ran the damn department back when those papers were filed. And absolutely, positively, it was in a transition time between having local people running the school district, running the food program. It was rolling over to Taher Food Services. Yes, It's at one of the largest food servicing companies in the country, Taher Food. And you can go to their website, and it looks all pretty, and their menus are great, but they come in and they decimate a local economy because they pick up maybe one of the local employees, and then they hire them, and the rest of them are not local people. Or there are local people, but their wages get cut to serve their profit margins, which can lead me to another story. But let's go back here. Memphis sponsors participating in federally funded Tennessee food programs received money to feed kids, but then did not feed them, according to a release from the Department of Human Services. That's supposed to be the good old, but wait a minute. The Health Department, Department of Human Services, aren't these all supposed to be like-minded and working for the betterment of a community, not bilking federal dollars, which is, wait a minute, whose tax dollars are they? Yeah, yours and mine. The two programs, the Child and Adult Care Food Program and the Summer Food Service Program for Children, are administered by DHS, Department of Health and Human Services. Giving Youth a Chance is the name of the sponsor. New Beginnings International Ministry. It's all in the Nashville area. This is from Memphis. These programs commonly provide snacks and meals to children. New Beginnings and GYAC have both participated in the food service programs for more than 5 years and have received millions of tax dollars in reimbursements. Excuse me. Boy, I do have a frog. Throughout those years, both Comptroller's Office and DHS have identified deficiencies and areas of non-compliance within both entities. Comptroller's auditors visited 2 GYAC feeding sites and didn't see any children being fed. What did I say that I did back 5 years ago with my company? Sat in the parking lot, had nobody there. But guess what? The forms went into the government stating that they did feed people. Plates, called plates. GYAC claimed 350 snacks and suppers were served on these days. DHS paid GYAC $884. GYAC claimed it served between 111 and 200 lunches and snacks per day at the New Horizons apartment. Comptroller auditors and DHS monitors visited the site on 4 occasions and counted a maximum of 59 children present. Wait a minute. 59 kids? But the paperwork got submitted with 200 lunches? Are you out of your mind? And guess what? Even if any penalty is dished out, they're going to just lose their jobs. They won't lose their pension, which is part of a job when they lied, during the time that they lied and falsified documents. Is that correct? Is that what you want to have done with your tax dollars? In 2021, single audit report includes questions cost totaling $19,002, which is the difference between the number of meals UIAC claimed and the highest number of meals served, 59 for 39 days. But they got federal money, didn't they? The results of this special report have been shared with a number of parties, including state and federal prosecutors. Would you like to make a bet, a wager, that nothing will ever be done? The audit was there. The findings are there. What they're going to say, and here it is, well, we're working on correcting these issues. No, they're not issues. They're fricking lies. People have a job, they get paid, and they lie, but they can have working relationships to try to solve their problems. We've been pleased to work closely with DHS on addressing red flag situations like these. That's quote unquote. Now, if you expect fraud or waste or abuse of public money in Tennessee, it's in Tennessee. Call 1-800-232-5454. That number again, if I had it on the screen, I'd give it to you. 1-800-232-5454. Or file a report online. Now, I'm going to tell you that Wisconsin has little or no watchdog meat floating around because our system is corrupt as the next one. Yes, I'm calling you out. And you want to know something? The reason I'm calling you out on this is because I have footage in our archives. I have paper documents that prove that the state and federal government was lied to. So if you think you have enough cojones to come get me or my organization, feel free. Because I'll guarantee you, I do have these things. And we reported them 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, we started doing it. I don't have a problem with you coming. Bring it on. Come get some. You won't like the end result. And another story. And all of these stories nowadays seem to have a common theme. And that common theme is what? Our children. And there are people who are awake or getting woke up, and not with this CRT crap. They are waking up to the fact of what Reagan called trickle-down awakeness. You don't know what to do at the federal level. You don't know what to do at the state level, but it's boiling down to local elections, school boards that have our children's mind. Here, right here. Here it is. What does it say? Like a Sponge podcast. That's the next story I'm going to talk about. Now and after this one. But the gist of this, which I got to go over here and get this one too. Again, these are all interlinking topics. This was down in Florida. Do I have it or not? I do not know. No, next one. All right. Cops converge upon mom at school board meeting, and after chairwoman kicks her out for something horrible, this did hit the news. Maybe your local news stations picked up on it. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But what happened was in a school board meeting, this is down in Florida, a mom was taking time to make a public comment. And in every agenda, there needs to be public comment or public communications. And I must have missed this one. Anyway, she had something to say, but apparently these two people have had at each other verbally a number of different times. Melissa Bakandi, a mother of four, called out by name by Sarasota County board member at Tuesday's meeting for comments the board member alleged made during previous meeting. At the last meeting, Shirley Brown was caught on the microphone talking about, Badonk stated before the board chairwoman, Jane Goodwin, had cut her off. Stop talking about school board members, she says. You're done. You're done, Mrs. Badonk. You're done. This is the chairman of the school board. You keep an ear open, grandparents and parents. Thank you. You're done. You cannot go and expound on school board members. I've told you that. I've warned you several times. Thank you very much. You're done. Move on. Goodbye. This is a school board president talking to a person that pays her wages. And two other officers soon followed and stood on either side of the mother. So the police officers were called and standing on either side, mom standing at the podium, making her comments, blah, blah. They cut her microphone off, and then they put two cops on either side of her. Bakandi asked Goodwin what the problem was, and the chairwoman replied, quote unquote, this is what she said to the mother. You're about to say something terrible about Shirley Brown. Please leave. You've said things about me that were untrue. Leave, please. So now the crystal ball that school board members get issued when they get elected told the school board president that this person was about to say something horrible. Then the next thing she asked, Goodwin asked her was, do you have children in our school? What do you mean? Do you have children in our school? Let me just say this unequivocally. She's a frickin' taxpayer. She has every right to open her mouth, whether she has children in the school system or not. She's paying your wages. Fox News said that that question fired up conservative board member Bridget Ziegler. Point of order. That is not appropriate. You don't get to ask people who come to a public meeting whether they have children or not. Period. You're way out of line. A patriot stands up and tells the school board president, you're out of line for that. And that's absolutely correct. Somebody on this school board in Florida gets it. Soon Goodwin ordered the officers to ask back and to leave. She was ejected from the meeting. That's what happens when you exercise your rights. I just, the quote unquote, the queen of no public input. And guess what? Oh man, I do have a fraud. My apologies. Every citizen and taxpayer has a right to speak at public meetings and share their input. Ms. Goodwin doesn't want to hear that. This is the ultimate form of censorship, and they are destroying our school district, targeting parents and eliminating dissent. You know, and then the report falsely came out that the sheriff's department was the LEO that ejected the lady from the meeting, and the sheriff's office made a public statement stating outright, it was not us, it was a local MP, RP department, and I would never, from the sheriff, says the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office would never participate in preventing a citizen from expressing their First Amendment rights during public comment. Hoffman said, according to the Herald Tribune, as your sheriff, I do not condone tax-paying citizens being silenced. And I saw the video that he put out. He was animate about that. Do not confuse my office with what happened at that school board meeting. Oh, now guess what? The queen of no comment brings us to another story that just got published May 8th at a Wisconsin school board. And let's see, yes, I do have it up. There it is. Wauwatosa School Board discussed public records in secret. Do you have any idea what's going on in you? I'll point this out. Do you have any idea what's going on in your school district or public school meetings? If you don't, you better get a clue. I haven't listened to this. Let's see what it says.
Accusations of a school board cover-up after a Fox 6 investigation, Wauwatosa School Board publicly said it was committed to transparency.
But one board member tells Fox 6 investigator Amanda St. Hilaire about the private push for secrecy.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here.
It's a story that's played out over 6 months.
I do think people deserve to hear directly from you.
In Wauwatosa School Board public meetings.
How does that sit with you?
A Fox 6 investigation revealed a school administrator encouraged a 6-figure contract with college prep program Avid, her husband's employer.
Why did you initially attempt to protect her?
Eventually, the school board promised change in public.
We are taking steps to fully investigate those allegations.
But now,
we are in a school board room, the intersection of power and money, and now there's no one watching us.
School board member Mike Meyer says,
I'm going to stop. I'm going to pause that right there. And what he said is exactly true. And it bleeds back to my earlier discussion about lockdowns, the pandemic, and I'm going to say Zoom meetings. If you haven't been to a government meeting because of COVID precautions, quote unquote, which is the rhetoric of most every common council meeting, school board, and inclusive of somewhere local, and beware because I am coming, that are preventing news agencies and citizens from attending meetings. They're only doing it by remote. And guess what? You have to submit a questionnaire or a comment to the presiding officer in order for you to speak it. To have public input, I'm not even talking about transparency. The shit that goes on behind closed doors in government today is 10 times worse, I said a word, than anything before. Now they feel there's a veil of security issued in a public office because, we have a pandemic and we have to find a way to have a meeting, and so the public can still watch. But there is the difference between 500 people standing in a school board meeting and no people standing in a school board meeting is as radical a difference as you could ever imagine. Been there, done that. And this is what's going on. Here's a school board member that stands up and says, we can't. Why are you discussing this?
You deserve to know what happened in private. In August, Fox 6 filed a public records request for board member voicemails. When Mike Meyer turned his over,
hey, Mike, Mary Jo,
we found the beginning of our investigation.
About the Avid contract.
By December.
An Avid contract. Insider information. Let's have a contract with somebody who's on the board and their spouse is asking the school board to buy into a contract that he or she works for. Common? Absolutely. You wonder what's wrong with your government? This is it. And this is only a school board. Wait a minute. Laptops, voicemails, with electric companies, power, gas companies. Who was that was doing that with his old man? Sniffing Joe and Hunter. Yeah.
I'm not really sure why no one wants to talk about it.
The school board was feeling the heat.
Chastised, I'll put that tone to it, by another board member for what was said to be essentially over compliance with the Fox 6 public records requests.
Instead of fixing the problem, Meyer felt the board's focus was hiding it.
Are you saying the board violated the law?
That's for a court to decide.
Bingo. That's for a court to decide. And what does that mean? That means that after you file an FOIA, if you know what that means, this is 19.81, is a state statute in Wisconsin regarding open meetings in government boards or bodies. And there's a long story on that one. And what he said is exactly true. You have to file a complaint with your district attorney. Now, the district attorney may or may not have the cojones you need to have it be prosecuted and then a fine levied. The state statute's explicit in the fines that can be levied for violating open meeting records and or open meetings and proper notification. Did you know, I'll tell you this outright, did you know that you as a citizen have the right to be put on an email list to be notified of government meetings? Did you know that? If you didn't, it ain't hard to do. Here he is. He's telling you it's for a court to decide. It will. I got $100 in my pocket. I'm going to guarantee you that this won't make it to court, even with a public newscast about how these yutzes, the village idiots, I talk about patriots and village idiots and wood ticks. These guys are village idiots running the show.
Wisconsin law says by default, government business must happen in public. There are exemptions allowing private discussion.
Motion to adjourn into executive closed session.
But open government attorneys.
You look at this picture of the school board meeting room. There's nobody there.
Say the board has to tell you the topic
for discussion and negotiations.
Stick to that topic and keep all other discussion public.
It's important for us to know what the government is doing.
In December, the board went into closed session to discuss personnel matters with legal counsel. That's when Meyer says the conversation turned into criticism that he gave Fox 6 too many public records.
I immediately challenged the comments as not appropriate for a noticed executive session, and I thought the issue was done with that.
There you go. And once you go in a closed session, a common council, school board, whatever, there are specific statutes relating, though they're kind of generalized. Excuse me. When you see an agenda for a meeting and may go into closed session, they have to ask a vote to go into closed session. And then they, in closed session, they have to have a vote to come back out, and they have to put it in the notification of the meeting. That's Robert's Rules of Order by which all government entities today run. And I had the book out here a couple of weeks ago telling people that if you want to know how to interact with your board, whatever board that may be, learn and understand the Robert's Rule of Order 2nd edition, because that's the one that is most commonly used. And if they use something other than Robert's Rule of Order 2nd edition, they have to tell you, oh, that's just a simple request. How is this government entity operating? And you as a citizen have the right to, as it said in the other article, point of information. You simply have to say that. The meeting has to stop, and information or a violation thereof has to be rectified. I used to almost relish the fact that I had the power to help bring the light of truth out in a meeting, which would then have to be reflected in the minutes of the meeting, so that John Q. Public, or whoever read the minutes, if anybody does, would be able to see, oh, the meeting had to stop to clarify a point of information that was on the agenda, or being the path by which that agenda item was taken. That's exactly what he's saying here.
But it wasn't.
Evidently not.
Meyer told us what happened.
If I hadn't done what I done, I would have been part of a cover-up, really.
In an email, Board President Steve Doman scolded Meyer for talking to us, took him off the policy committee, and admitted the public records conversation happened in that closed session.
There's an admission of guilt by the head of the school board. He admitted that it happened, but he took this guy who waved the freedom flag and stopped the meeting and said, you guys can't do this. You're not supposed to be doing this. This is not a closed session sub-statute discussion. And this is what I'm telling you, parents and grandparents. I've talked to a lot of people, and my point being is that grandparents may think they're retired and done with their day-to-day, but I'm going to tell you, we as a group of people, grandparents, great-grandparents, better stand up and start attending to these kinds of people who are out there playing village idiots.
We are talking about the production of public business, and where are we talking about it in secret?
Meyer's attorney sent the school board a letter saying this could go to court.
Wauwatosa School Board was putting a lot of pressure on Mr. Meyer not to comply with your public records request.
We asked open government attorneys to weigh in. Tom Kamenek says it appears the public records discussion was illegal, in violation of the open meetings law. Krista Westerberg calls the board's actions questionable.
When people don't feel like the process has been fair or they've been treated fairly, they will distrust typically their governmental body.
Of course the lawyers care about this stuff, but Meyer says it's about your right to see your government's work play out in public.
Why is this such an important issue to you?
It's what people have died for. We have this right to be equally represented. If we let this break down, then we have not honored my uncles who were on the beach at Iwo Jima, who were at the Battle of the Bulge. People sacrificed so that we have someone doing this job in a fair way. And it doesn't seem very fair right now.
I can't say it any plainer. That guy is a patriot. When you hear me say in the beginning of the show, good morning, wood ticks and patriots, the school board that he sits with are a bunch of wood ticks. If you don't know what a wood tick is, go look it up. But that guy's a patriot. And you could tell it took it to heart. When you have government officials doing that crap behind closed doors and then collectively chastising one individual that knows the law and wants his group to abide by the law, calls them out on it, and then is removed from committees because he called them on it. You want to know something? If I'm a DA, I'd fire every one of them. I would take them all to task. And the penalties for violating open meeting laws is minuscule. There is no reparations. And guess what? It still gets paid by the taxpayers. Your tax dollars just paid for that violation in Wisconsin. And it happens at every level of government, in every branch of government, from school boards to county fairs. And I've been called the meanest son of a bitch in the Northwoods because I will not let that happen. If I know about it, it ain't going to happen for very long. And I'm going to tell you, you do need to find a district attorney that will spend resources correcting that. It's a principle of law in America. And where are we right now? You got organizations sucking money from the public, even grant money, BLM. And then the leaders of that organization go buy 5-6 properties around the country, millions of dollars. And your tax dollars paid for that property because you gave the money to the government and you had a village idiot dish out the money. Because they no different than the summer food program. I'm going to tell you, it's just a byline. The summer food program for kids, which is a great, the process is, and thought is wonderful. There is hardships. There's a ton of single moms out there trying to raise their kids and do right by whatever they can. And a little help for the food line and with food stamps or whatever it is, lunch at a school system. Not a bad thing at all, in theory. But when you have village idiots that want money to be returned to them and they're willing to lie on a piece of paper, just like Memphis, just like the school district I was talking about, that we watched, it's all wrong. And you want to know who paid who do you think paid? Who do you think pays for the summer food program? Department of Health, Human Services, which you would think. Department of Education would be another logical dart on the wall. No, it's the Department of Defense. Department of Agriculture, yeah, maybe you'd think they're the ones that were paying for it. Nope, Department of Defense. You want to talk about asinine? What the hell is the Department of Defense paying for lunch for kids? In some twisted, weird way, maybe you could rationalize that should fall in their budgetary parameters. I'm going to bet not. And if you got something you want to say to me, send it over to news@thejustjimshow.com. I'll be happy to listen. I'll be even happy to comment. I may not like what you hear, but you go ahead and tell me. And that man is exactly correct. He is every one of our forefathers that fought, died for righteousness and freedom their graves are being pissed on by that school board. I swear like a drunken sailor, but that's exactly what they're doing. Showing no regard for the rule of law or the people that came before them that gave them the right to sit on that board and talk and provide for our kids. Which that story brings about 2 more stories, and then I'll be done for the day. I showed you this before. I don't have it up on the other screen. Like a Sponge podcast, Radical Rethink. They're still in the school world. This organization, boy, I tell you, beware, because I'm looking at your organization. Parenting, www.greatschools.org. Oh, great name. Great schools. Let's see what they got to offer. In rural North Carolina, one district launched a radical experiment to rethink their traditional high school. It worked so well, they become a national model. Isn't that surprising? We have somebody doing something. Great Schools staff put this article together. Now, and boy, I tell you, moms and dads all across America would hear that. Greatschools.org. Whoa, yeah, let's get involved. Learn more. There's tons of websites on this whole article. Learn more about how to redesign high schools. Redesign high school. Do you get the woke statement in that? Redesign a high school. What's wrong with that statement? What's wrong with I agree. You mean that my education's not correct? I was brought up in a wrong school? The podcast. This is some of the kids are putting this stuff out. The season of the podcast is part of our quote unquote transforming high schools. Exploring the practices that prepare students for success in college and beyond. A wonderful mission statement. And I'll get to the caveat in about 30 seconds here. Great Schools is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Now, this is what they put out. You can't see it there, but it's there. That's what they say. It says donate now. Join us, supporters, licensing, sponsorship, advertising, careers, newsletter, learn more. But these are all links. There's a Facebook page out there, too. Facebook.com/Great Schools. There's a Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube. So, and they're claiming to be a 501c3, nonprofit, tax exempt, or you can write off your they can write off your donation. Except, now we're going to get to the caveat here. Copyright 1998 to 2022. Greatschools.org. All rights reserved. Great Schools is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization or nonprofit. Upon initial looking, and I'm going to tell you, you're going to hear a lot more about this organization in a little while. Do you want to know what they are? They're a non-American nonprofit organization. It's a non-American, a foreign nonprofit organization. Did you hear me? Foreign, not a U.S. 501c3, but a foreign, meaning offshore somewhere. And of course, what they do is they use an organization that is an intermediary for people who run small corporations, large corporations, and they have automatic mailing lists that, oh, your form XYZ 123 is due by the end of the month, and they send out these notices. So this is a non-profit, non-American organization. And then, of course, they will shelter their names, although I do have a full list of the board of directors, president, vice president, and trust me, I'm coming. This is something Judicial Watch should be looking at. Absolutely. So, Like a Sponge podcast. This is exactly what the libtards in America and out of America think of our children and our grandchildren. Like a sponge. They think of your children as a sponge. Feed them anything, they'll soak it up. Get involved, or you're going to lose this one. And here the scuttlebutt on the show in the last couple of days has been Biden asking for what, $33 trillion, whatever it is, trillion. And now all of a sudden it went up to 40 something. Do you want to know why that, part and parcel of why that happened? I can tell you right here. Here we go. We got a thing called the Uniting for Ukraine program. There's an emergency request by Sniffin' Joe and company. He sent an emergency supplemental funding request to Congress for $33 billion in aid to Ukraine. However, the administration used an opportunity to sneak in unlawful immigration benefits for hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian, Afghan, and Russian immigrants, paid for by the American people at the expense of lawful applicants who've been waiting years to properly immigrate to the U.S. The emergency requests include $1.2 billion, not million, not trillion, billion, for Department of Health and Human Services, which, oh, wait a minute, that was the county person in that department. And $1.2 billion for the Homeland Security's Uniting for Ukraine program. This program of the portion of the funding request includes robust and increased blanket immigration provisions for Ukrainians, Afghans, and Russians in the science, technology, engineering, and math or STEM fields. So, doesn't matter what you do, there's some libtard that's going to go out there and say, well, no, we just got to print some more money. We're going to make it, let's pull a number out. It's $100 billion. Now, we 30 or 40 billion just was a scratch the surface. And all the time, I opened this program up by talking about diversions. There is what's the comical story? You throw as much shit at the wall as you can and hope something sticks. Today's program has been about diversions and not letting you be involved in the process of the execution of your government. And if you don't like the subject matter, unsubscribe. If you like this, subscribe. Where am I? Right there. Like and subscribe. Like this program and subscribe. I can't tell you, if you really like it, we got swag. If you know what swag is, hoodies, T-shirts, coffee mugs. I got face masks on there, but drop us an email. Tell us what you think. Got my coffee mug right here. Support what's going on. And I usually close my show with a video. And I don't know which to do today. If you've seen the show, you'll understand why I play this. And yes, I have permission to play it. Fred Thompson, God rest his soul, was a narrator on this thing. Anyway, and until next time, Hey, be good to each other, agree to disagree, going in, be good to each other because that's all we got. We only got each other. And with that, I will bid adieu till the next show. And we have some really big things happening right here, right now. Be good to each other. God bless. We'll talk to you next time.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a defender. So God made a patriot. God said, I need somebody willing to sacrifice everything, his fortune, his sacred honor, even his life, for liberty and something called inalienable rights that he cannot see but knows he cannot live without. So God made a patriot. God said, I need somebody willing to ride a horse through sleepy towns in the dark of night, sounding the alarm, entreating neighbors to take up arms against an overwhelming force of wicked tyranny. So God made a patriot. God said, I need someone who, even after crushing defeats, rises up and stands tall. Someone who hears the clarion call that these are the times that try men's souls and does not shrink from the trial. Someone who will cross a frozen river in the dead of winter, when all logic and reason says turn back, abandon hope. So God made a patriot. Then God said, I need a man who knows of the rise and fall of great nations, who knows of human nature and the corrupting influence of power and the fragility of liberty. I need this man, along with his like-minded brethren, to write an enduring constitution. So God made a patriot. God said, I need a person, one person, who's willing to do whatever it takes, even write a book to confront injustice and spark a movement that would tear apart a people so that chains will rightfully be shattered and a blessed union eventually emerge. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who, with the love of family and for the love of country, will cross a vast ocean and storm a heavily fortified beach. And, if he survives, charge through 200 yards of bullets and blood across that merciless beach. And if he survives, scale the towering cliffs. And if he survives, begin the long march to free a continent. And if he survives, return home and, with the same resolute determination, rebuild a nation, and someday be called the greatest generation. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who will, without thought of self, invest in schools and scouts and church and community, so that the proposition that all men are created equal remains a beacon to enlighten the world, and that such a beacon shall not perish from the earth. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who will have the courage to not give up her seat on a bus and thus force a nation to confront its deepest divisions and heal the wounds and pursue the dream that inspires all hearts. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone strong enough to stand against any enemy, foreign or domestic, that would try to steal the freedom so dearly defended, the rights so righteously upheld, yet gentle enough to help a small child carry a star-spangled flag in a hometown parade. So God made a patriot. Then God said, I need a man who will speak the truth to his own leaders, that in order to preserve our great nation, we will not sacrifice the well-being of future generations for the sake of our own. Someone who will tirelessly toil day upon night, no matter the setback, no thought of surrender. Someone who will prayerfully rise every morning to climb the wall as a defender, duly endowed with the honored gift of generations before, while offering a solemn promise to generations ahead. A defender who will ensure that the way of truth and the torch of liberty remain forever lit in this shining city on a hill. So God made a patriot.